For years now, if you heard the term AI, you immediately thought of, well, conversation.
Exactly. Generative text, chatbots, dialogue, ChatGPT, Gemini.
Yeah.
They're all focused on language.
And it's been an incredible ride, don't get me wrong, but fundamentally, AI has been sort of sitting at the keyboard just typing.
That changes now. I mean, we are moving decisively out of that chat dialogue era and straight into what the sources are labeling the getting things done era.
The C.
That's the one.
Yeah.
This is the moment when AI doesn't just draft an email about ordering lunch for you. It figures out what you want, it navigates the menu, it handles the payment, and then confirms the delivery. It does the task.
And our mission in this deep dive is to really dissect the biggest, most aggressive move charting this new territory. And that is, of course, the massive integration by Alibaba of their entire digital ecosystem into their AI product, the Qwen app.
Or Tail. And the initial shock factor here is just the sheer scope and the speed of it all. This wasn't some slow, staged rollout.
Not at all.
On January 15th, Qwen just announced the full integration of these huge Alibaba businesses. We're talking Alipay for finance, Taobao for shopping.
Fliggy for travel, AutoNavi for maps, the whole thing.
The whole ecosystem. And they opened over 400 AI service functions for immediate public testing. It's this enormous push to make Qwen the first real one-stop AI assistant that can complete these complex real-life tasks.
So let's get into the mechanics. What's the technical advantage here? What makes this Qwen launch so different from, say, the last generation of chatbots that would just give you a link to another app?
What's really fascinating here is the foundational strategy. The sources quote the Qwen CN Business Group President, Wu Jia, and he highlights this advantage of merging two key assets.
Oh, okay.
The Qwen strongest model with the Alibaba richest ecosystem.
Yeah.
So if the earlier AI models gained a powerful brain, the ability to think and understand language, this move is all about growing the hands and feet.
Hands and feet, I like that.
It's what's needed to truly execute tasks in the physical transactional world. It's about leveraging that deep proprietary connection to all their services.
That metaphor is really powerful. A general AI is, well, it's kind of blind if it can't interact with real-world services.
Exactly. And the immediate tangible achievement they're pointing to is being the first globally to really pioneer these AI shopping functions.
Like ordering takeout, booking tickets.
Right. And these are live transactional services. They are open for testing to all users right now. This is where the concept really gets tested against reality.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me, because we need to walk through the user experience to understand how Qwen actually eliminates that friction.
Yeah.
So let's take a complicated example, like ordering takeout. It's got selection, logistics, payment.
Let's use a specific one. The user gives Qwen the instruction, help me order 40 coffees for the office. Now, that's a specific high-volume order that would normally involve, 5 or 6 steps across maybe 2 or 3 different apps.
So tell us how Qwen handles that typical multi-app headache.
Okay, so Qwen immediately declares that it will use the Taobao Flash Sale service. It confirms the user's location, and then it prioritizes popular nearby shops. But this is where the intelligence really comes in. It handles the classic e-commerce pain points right there on the dialogue. For instance, what if your huge 40-cup order doesn't meet the merchant's minimum delivery fee?
Right, that happens all the time.
Qwen doesn't just fail. It prompts you right there with a clean little card interface to maybe add some supplementary items to meet the requirements.
So it's problem solving inside the chat interface. That is a huge convenience factor. But the payment part, that's usually where these systems break down and force you to jump to another app.
And that closure is the core strategic difference here.
Mm-hmm.
Once the order is finalized, Qwen calls up the built-in Alipay AI payment feature, AI, to seamlessly complete the whole thing.
So the key takeaway is that the entire process from that first natural language command,
Right, through all the logistical problem solving,
to the final payment, it's all done inside the Qwen app.
it's a single enclosed transactional loop.
The implication of solving that app jump friction is just enormous for user retention. If you can capture that whole process, you've made the user's life easier, and you've basically cut off any competitor.
You got it.
So if it can handle coffee, does this hold up when you're dealing with more complex multi-venue things like, say, travel?
That's the perfect next step. Travel planning really shows the depth of this ecosystem integration. So imagine a user tells Qwen, book a ticket to Beijing.
Okay.
Qwen gathers the necessary details, departure date, how many passengers, And then it offers multiple solutions.
And these aren't just a random list of flights and prices, I'm guessing.
No, not at all. They are strategically varied. They're customized. For example, Qwen might offer a Scheme 1 that focuses strictly on cost effectiveness.
For the budget traveler.
Right. But then Scheme 2 might prioritize a specific departure airport's location or a certain flight time, which is better for convenience. It's not just filtering a database. It suggests the AI is figuring out the user's priorities, whether they value budget or time more.
It's acting like an intelligent travel agent, not just a search tool. And this is where that cross-application depth must really shine.
It does. Qwen uses Fliggy for the booking itself, and then it immediately calls on AutoNavi, or Geode, for all the related services.
Like what?
Think itinerary planning, or even reserving a New Year's Eve dinner at your destination. The sources even highlight that it can directly call restaurants to book reservations, which shows a real physical world interaction, not just a digital booking.
And this capability has been extended beyond just commerce too, right? Into public services, using Alipay's history there.
Precisely. Qwen integrates Alipay's government services, offering over 50 livelihood services. This means you can use natural language for policy interpretation for complex documents like visas or residence permits.
Tehuku.
And it provides direct links to the right application portals. It's trying to be a complete life management tool.
That is a staggering list of capabilities. But as we dig deeper, we have to ask, where are the current limits? Where do these AI agents hit a wall?
That's a really important question. And the sources revealed a crucial boundary when they tested a very specific kind of shopping instruction.
The subjective shopping test.
Correct. When Qwen was asked to buy a down jacket, a purchase that involves subjectivity, style, quality, fit, the AI agent was very clear. It stated it temporarily does not have the ability to directly place an order.
So it defaults back to its old function, just providing guides and strategies.
Exactly.
But wait, that's the crucial distinction, isn't it? Transactional things like coffee and tickets, that's solved. But subjective, high-consideration purchases are not yet autonomous. So if it stops short of the actual transaction for things we really need help deciding on, is it truly an agent?
And that is the core conflict the analysis pointed out. While it can't click purchase on the jacket, its real value is in how it helps with the decision-making. Answering those questions of what to buy, how to choose, is it worth buying?
So it's leveraging its deep institutional memory of e-commerce.
Exactly. Instead of just relying on general world knowledge, where another LLM might just hallucinate a price or availability, Qwen grounds its advice in actual transactional history and real user reviews from Taobao.
Right.
Wujia emphasized this. Enhancing the model with Alibaba's own transaction and service data is what's crucial for handling the insane complexity of online marketing information. It gives the model a verified edge.
They're essentially using their decade-plus lead in e-commerce data to build a trust layer that a general LLM just can't have.
Okay, so let's widen the lens. This isn't happening in a vacuum. What does this big leap by Alibaba mean for the global competition?
It means the fusion of AI agents and e-commerce is rapidly becoming the new industry standard. And Alibaba's move, well, it places them right at the forefront in terms of integrated transactional power.
So who are the immediate competitors the sources are pointing to, and how are their strategies different from this, centralized Qwen-first approach? Globally, the sources point to two main counter strategies. First, you have Amazon. They're focused on aggressively reinforcing their own walled garden with their AI shopping assistant, Rufus.
So Amazon is building a better, stronger moat around their own platform.
That's a great way to put it. And then the other competitor is going for a more open, collaborative approach.
Yeah, it is.
A strong collaboration between Ant International and Google. They're working together on something called the Universal Commerce Protocol, or UCP. It's a very different philosophy. It aims to help AI agents work across multiple platforms, focusing on interoperability instead of centralizing everything into one app like Qwen.
And the market analysis seems to be confirming that the very mechanism of e-commerce is changing because of this.
Absolutely. Analysis from firms like Zheshang Securities notes that assistants like Rufus have already shifted behavior away from the old keyword search bar. People are now using natural language, asking for comparisons like, find me a running shoe for high arches, but under $150.
And they get high match recommendations immediately.
Exactly. Generative AI is formally reshaping the traffic entry points and the entire product distribution system.
And this shift provides a clear financial benefit for the platforms who master it.
A dual dividend is what the expert analysis calls it. The first is increased user retention time because you never leave the app. The second is a big improvement in advertising conversion rates, the CTR, because the recommendations are just so much more precise.
And domestically in the China market, where does this put Alibaba?
Founder Securities positioned them as the domestic leader, simply because of that unique combination of their AI foundational roots plus their consumption ecosystem. That dual-engine strategy potentially lets them be the first in China to create that one-stop consumption assistant for the AI era.
Okay, so to achieve this kind of rapid, full-scale integration across these massive, sometimes competing legacy systems, Fliggy, Autonavi, Alipay, you don't just roll out an IT plan. This must have required a huge organizational transformation.
It was maybe even more challenging than the technology itself. This is the story behind the scenes, what the sources are calling the Organizational Special Forces operation.
Special forces, I like that. It sounds intense.
And it was. The phrase reflects this unprecedented startup state and a deep organizational power surge that was all intended to quickly seize this AI consumer entrance before anyone else could react.
So take us inside the C4 building where this all happened. What do the details tell us about the speed they needed for this shift?
The details paint a really vivid picture. Since last September, hundreds of engineers from all across the company were pulled into these high-intensity, closed development teams.
And the proof is in the updates.
The proof is absolutely in the updates. The Qwen app was updated over 10 times in less than 2 months. That's a pace of 2 to 3 updates a week. Some feature demands went from a design concept to live in just 1 to 3 days.
That speed is practically unheard of for a company of Alibaba's size. It must mean they just completely shattered the typical corporate silos that slow things down.
They absolutely did. The sources confirmed that workspaces were reorganized strictly by project team. They abandoned the traditional functional hierarchy. You had product managers, R&D staff, and algorithm experts literally sitting elbow to elbow. Communication was instant.
You just move your chair instead of scheduling a meeting.
Exactly. And that flat structure went right to the top. The leadership wasn't sitting through formal PowerPoint reports.
So what were they doing?
The president of the group, Wu Jia, he preferred to skip the presentations entirely. He would just stand at the whiteboard, co-creating and pushing the feature logic directly with the teams. It was this reduced hierarchy, this intense entrepreneurial mode that let them merge these massive internal systems in just a matter of weeks.
That's a powerful conclusion. The technological leap was only possible because they basically reverted to a startup mentality inside a corporate giant.
Absolutely. The key achievement here is that Qwen has successfully gone from just a conversational tool to a genuinely functional AI that processes real transactions across these complex separate services like takeout and travel. And it was only possible because of that marriage of its powerful model and the integration of the ecosystem.
All driven by that special forces organizational structure.
It's truly the end of AI chat and the beginning of AI action.
So let's leave you with this final provocative thought. Our whole discussion has highlighted that AI is now excellent at structured binary transactions, ordering a specific item, booking a definite flight, but it still struggles with that complex subjective product selection, like the down jacket purchase, where things like quality and style are inherently subjective.
So what the greatest competitive edge in this getting things done era has been established by connecting services, which Alibaba has clearly done, will the next critical competitive edge come not from connecting more apps, but from the ability of the AI to accurately and reliably judge quality and value in those subjective high-stakes purchases.
What specific skill set? Is it sensory input, deeper predictive analytics? What does the AI agent need to master next to overcome that very human hurdle? That's what's going to determine who truly owns the future of e-commerce.